So you're good.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, Bill,
Oh,
okay. Please disable that destination.
oh, looks like we're streaming.
Okay, yep, we are. And I got to disable one destination that it's not going to go to. Okay, close. Let's see how we are. And let's start recording.
Yay!
Yay!
Whoop, 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 whoop.
Do I have my launch glow about me?
You do. And you know what? What a day. Look at this. Da, 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 da.
You know,
So
my somebody asked yesterday on social media, well, I want to write a book. What's it like? I said, I I can't say that this is for sure, but I think I know what, at least a little bit, what 9 months of pregnancy are like. I mean, you have the buildup, and you've got some pain, and you've got some excitement. You have some naming that you have to do, and then you have the event. Today's the event, so today's a happy day.
Today is a happy day, and we are celebrating because this is such an accomplishment. And this book is totally amazing in what our world
Oh,
needs today.
thank you so much. It's so kind.
Michael, just celebrate, relish in the fact that you accomplished this. Is such an important time in your life, and what you're bringing to the world is so vital, so important. So let's talk a little bit. This is Michael Marr. He has written this book, of course, Revolution Without the R. We have Maggie Mongan with Brilliant Breakthroughs, the small
Yay!
business owner. Um, Maggie is really instrumental in a lot of the marketing pieces that go on in the background, the pieces that Michael can use for a long time to come, kind of more evergreen type of things. And of course, I am the publishing house that helps connect all the dots and bring it all together. So we are celebrating because, like Michael said, it's like having a baby. It's about a 9-month process. For some, it's much longer. Very few can do it sooner because there's so much to put into place. And Michael, let's talk about, first of all, why this book and why now?
I started writing this book probably like most authors, a couple years ago. Like you, I'm just sure that you've probably felt at least that our country's become more divided. It's just uncomfortable. Plus, then we had this thing called COVID, which on top of that wasn't pleasant. And I just felt a calling, I guess, that I had something to offer. I couldn't stop an insurrection. Yet I had something to offer. My expertise in my professional career was with conflict transformation. And I thought, wow, one thing that we're really missing, I think, in our world right now is just how to heal our nation from the inside out. There's, if you turn on the news, whether that's streaming or online, CNN, Fox, all you hear is how divided we are. But it's not really the whole story. We are still a nation who still believes that democracy, or at least some form of it, is what we can do to help strengthen America. And so when I was writing about some of the different chapters and everything, I was still kind of looking and wondering what some of the subjects should be. And I wanted to get some opinions and some insight from our newest generation, because they are going to be what we're working on right now, good or bad.
Right.
And I just happened to stumble upon, I was actually in a coffee shop in Phoenix, just happened to stumble upon a Harvard Youth Poll 2021, asked their opinions about political questions, which way they lean, what are their ambitions. And one of the questions was, what do you feel your future's like? And 24% of the respondents had said, I feel better off dead.
Oh,
And
wow.
I read that. I mean, you heard that right, 24% of the respondents. And this is a legitimate poll. Harvard Youth Poll does this every year. And I read that and I thought, that can't be right. And I reread it. I thought it was clickbait. It really did. And then I realized, wow, this is where some of this negativity is landing. There was a 60 Minutes story on our youth crisis. And the more I looked into it, the more I said, you know, if that is the story, we need to work together and find ways to work together to leave a better nation, a less divided nation for future generations. And it's not easy.
No.
Conflict is not easy. Our democracy structure is not easy. We have a lot of messages that we hear every day that say how divided we are, yet in the core of our essence, I think people want change. They want a friendlier nation. They want to know how to talk to people better. Even if it's not about politics, just in general, they want to feel less divided. And they have this urge, you know, to leave a better nation. And that's what I tried to tap into in my book.
That is so beautiful, because I truly feel that our nation as a whole is so filled with good people, so
It
filled
is.
with goodness, and yet there is this divisiveness, and the media plays a huge role. They really do, because all we hear is the bad. We don't hear the
Mhm.
good. And yet if you're out and about, my husband and I have gone a couple of places recently, you know, like the Falls Festival, and you know, you go grocery shopping, and I've had young people hold the door open for me. I've had young people say, well, you know, I give them a compliment and they're saying thank you. Even last night with all the trick-or-treaters, there were such good manners in those children, which is a tribute to the parents. But we as adults, the older generations, need to lead by example and really help them to understand that there is, you know, at the core, this country is an amazing place to be, and we have such a responsibility to lead by example.
Yeah, I totally agree. And you know, one of my chapters, it's actually titled, which I tried my best just to, you know, give them a megaphone for what they were telling me, because I interviewed a lot of younger voters for my books. I wanted to get their insight. I didn't feel that there was enough being done to hear their voice, because they're going to inherit this nation. So I named the chapter "Mad as Hell," begging us to prove them wrong.
I love it.
And it really was what they said. They were very clear. They do not want to inherit the democracy that we have right now. Now, when I say democracy, I don't mean that there many people want other forms of government. What they mean is they want a less divided country. Um,
Absolutely.
Many of them don't believe adults can do it. You know, one of the most insightful conversations I had, uh, because I spoke with a lot of, you know, youth 18 to 30, you know, about, you know, how they get along with their parents, what they think about politics and stuff like that. And, you know, it's a little, for our generation, or at least older adults who didn't grow up with a cell phone in their hand, it's a little deceiving, because I've heard a lot of people say, oh, you know, they're so checked out, they're always on their phone. That is not really the case. When you look at polls and everything, they have a very good idea of what goes on in politics and stuff like that. We just have to try and connect with them the way that we know how. Anyway, getting back to that conversation. So I asked him, I said, you know, do you and your parents agree about politics? And he just shook his head. And what was unusual is mom was two people down from me at the wedding. And he said, you know, Mike, I just don't. He goes, you know, I listen to my parents. They fight about if we should be masked or not masked. I see them on Facebook fighting about, you know, what he thought was silly things about cultural things. And he said, you know, what they are forgetting to realize is that in reality, there are much bigger things. They're ignoring much bigger things, like whole ecosystems just collapsing around us. Yet they're fighting about silly things like, you know, uh, what type of products they're going to use and stuff like that. And boy, talk about one of those flashbulbs that just went off in my head. I said, boy, I get it. I get why they are checked out right now, because, you know, we've exchanged mean tweets and visceral Facebook posts for our, you know, for their future. So, you know,
Right.
we have to learn, and that's hopefully what I've done in this book a little bit, is captured their voice. We have to learn, you know, to exchange some of our egos for getting along a little bit better.
Beautiful. Maggie, you've had a huge role in helping this book come to be and also providing the background. What's it been like to work with Michael, and what insights can you share through this whole process?
Oh, well, first of all, thanks, Becky. Working with Michael is a dream come true.
Oh,
Yes, absolutely. I wish all my clients were like Michael.
thank you. That's very kind. Thank you.
Well, Michael, that's what we've been saying to one another as we've been working on your project. So it's time for you to know this, okay? And it's beautiful because your message is so timely. It's actually past due. And that's not a reflection on you. It's a reflection on where we're at. We're so caught up in everything that you're saying in this really great book that we're not playing the video forward and figuring out how to alter the future. And your subtitle, I want to read it because the subtitle is so important.
Absolutely.
And it's, well, the title is Revolution Without the R. That means evolution. Okay, everybody. So keep that in mind.
Very good. You cracked the code.
I also know what the last sentence in the book is.
Ah,
Right. And the subtitle is Helping Our Newest Generations Turn Revolution into Evolution and Change U.S. Politics Forever. Now,
It's powerful.
that is a very big task, and no one person can do it. And I want to thank you, Michael, for starting the conversation for the masses, because once you put it in a book, then people start talking about it. It's just not an opinion. The research that you have done in this, and see, yes, I do have Post-its already in there.
I saw that.
The
That was impressive.
Yeah, well, you wrote some impressive information. The research is phenomenal.
Thank
And
you.
and to me, that says everything. And what I noticed when you were sharing what you found was I could tell you worked diligently to make sure both sides of the stories were covered, and the opinions and the agendas, everything. You brought facts forward like I haven't seen in a long time. And that was very assuring that this was not a book of opinion, but an opportunity for us to say, oh, let's relearn what we think we know and think then how to be responsible for what we do in the future and help others, thus the younger generation, really step into something more favorable. And I love how you said that right at the beginning. You said they're going to inherit this.
Absolutely.
And that's
Yeah.
powerful. So thank you.
Well, thank you, and very kind again. Thank you. I'm really appreciative of your words. You know, the easy part for me, really, one of the easiest parts is, I have political opinions just like anybody else. Yet, some of the suggestions I write in there, they were almost 100% from some of the younger voters that I spoke with. I mean, I got to tell you, ladies, I was blown away by some of the suggestions that they had. I spoke with younger adults who, I think represented both sides, right and left. Although I think that the youngest generation don't really call themselves right or left anymore. I don't know if they really associate so much as older generations with right and left. They just want something better. So I don't know if you correctly label them as independents, but they're definitely citizens with a voice. And that's what I tried to capture. Like, what do you want? What do you want future democracy to look like? And they had great ideas. I was furiously trying to write some of them down during the interviews because, sure, some of my thoughts are in there. And getting back to one of your points, it's hard not to be biased, and there's some biasness in there. Yet at no time did I want to create an illusion that, this is, someone that is neither right or left, I guess, on some type of scale. I'm actually registered independent, so and I voted both sides of the aisle, but when I was speaking with younger adults, they don't really see themselves that way. A lot of them, I guess, would see themselves as a citizen who wants something better or some form of better democracy. There's a lot of them, that still favor democracy, that have done their research and say, wow, we've looked at all the different political systems in the world. We know we don't want this. We know we don't want this. We want democracy. We just want it to work.
Right, absolutely.
And that was a perfect message that I got from them. But many of them that I spoke with, they are not happy. They are, maybe this is foreshadowing in the book. I think possibly in the future, we could see some type of very large political change occur in our country as time progresses.
As these young people come of age and decide we've got to do something.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right.
And that's the other message I hope we got out of it for anybody that might be in it, in that new powerful generation that's voting right now, is you don't have to protest alone. There are many of us out there, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, maybe even some anarchists who want something different, so hopefully that was one of the messages that I got out there, is that we're locking arm in arm with you because we want something better. We want a democracy that works.
Oh, that is true. And one of the things that you did when you were talking about reforming election was you brought in some points of research, and then you did the coolest thing. I love this bite-sized learning, where all of a sudden you drop in a case that validates what you had just said. And to me, that's really cool to see, because you're helping us reform our history as we know it, because we don't have all the accurate information. It's only when the research is done do we start to see it. So that was really fascinating to me. And then I love some of your tips.
Thank you.
Especially, you made me think for a moment when you talked about Thomas Jefferson. And I don't want to say what it is,
Sure.
okay, because I don't want to spoil it, but holy cow, I was like, what is he talking about? And then I read it and I went, oh, okay. And I didn't know that that quote that you put in there was attributed to him.
Yeah. There's a lot of, first of all, I'm an educator, a corporate, master trainer by profession, and so I wanted to make sure it didn't read like a book, that it read more like, hey, this is an information guide with some great tips in there. Because that's the way we think as humans. We can only handle so much, and they have to be bite-sized. If not, some of it gets lost in that gray space in there, and we just don't use it. So I tried to write it with that concept in mind, is that, I'm writing this as a educator and as a learning guide, and not just as a book.
And that's what I noticed. Let me just share this one last point, Becky. I noticed that it was a guide, and that it was very practical to apply. You weren't speaking at an academic level that some people may not understand. You were not doing that at all. It's like, here we are all in this together. Let's figure out how to do it. And if each one of us does our part, we'll get there, which is really beautiful. So I want to thank you, because taking all of this and distilling it to the practical and tactical is a gift. And you did really well with that. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Many years of learning there to go into that.
Yeah, but Michael, where did this all start for you? Because at the beginning of your book and your bio, you talk about the beginnings.
Yeah,
could you share a little of that background?
I was so lucky, fortunate to have a mother who was also a great human. The story I write in the book is my first, I guess, delve into activism. So, I'll set the scenario for you. My mom, when she was 28, single mom, 4 kids, and going to school, and wanted to introduce legislation to the Nebraska Senate that would offer equal pay for women in her profession. She was a dental assistant at that time. And she had a meeting with the senator. She was able to secure a meeting with the senator. And she was ready to go, and the babysitter canceled.
Oh,
So what does any other fierce woman who is driven on a mission do? She grabbed me, and we went to the state capitol. And I was 6 years old. I had never been in such a place. I mean, if you've ever been to a U.S. capitol or even a state capitol, most of them are beautiful. So I'm walking through the stairs, I'm 6 years old, and I'm like, wow, this is the best house I've ever been in. And what was really neat is she saw that as a learning moment. I said, Mom, whose house is this? And she thought about it. She bent down, looked me eye to eye, and she said, this is the people's house, and sometimes you have to fight for it. And I thought, wow, I was 6 years old, and to be honest, it didn't mean much at that time. But she said that was my first time, into activism as a 6-year-old. That I got to meet a state senator. So I'm like, wow. So my mom really was a good human who really championed for human rights for the person who might not have that voice. So that was really the first time, that I got a chance to really kind of witness that, because, actually seeing that process, play out is really a neat process. And I've carried that my whole life. She's no longer with us, unfortunately, but she carried that her whole life. She was always a champion for not only her family, but, for other people. So really
what a beautiful story, and what a legacy she left for you, and actually for the rest of the family, the children that she had and the grandchildren that she had. She left a legacy.
Absolutely.
And I think
she touched
many of us have
many people.
Many of us have those kind of people. My great grandmother was one of the first women voters, and she championed, oh my goodness, things that woman did, and she lived 104. So that was pretty cool.
Wow. So she's seen a lot of different changes in, as a lot of great history to pass down. So
very much.
That's fantastic.
Very much. Yeah. So where do you want this to take you? A book is a tool. It gets the message out far and wide, but there's a bigger dream within you that this book will start that springboard to what you want to accomplish. What is that?
Sure. Many of the things that I want from this book, I probably won't be around when they come to fruition. Yet I want to be one of those people who stands in line and locks arm in arm with other people who want a better nation, who want, a nation that we can pass along to our youth that's less divided, that has, some improvements in it, some large improvements to it, so that we feel and other people feel represented. I think if you would ask most people right now, about politics, they would just laugh. Yet, politics, as long as it's used right, can be a driving force for change. We've seen that in the past with Social Security and other large scale initiatives, regardless of what you want those initiatives to be. Right now, we're in a difficult place because, according to the research, even if 80% of the United States wanted a law, the chances of that passing is only 30%. That's dismal. I don't know how that even occurs. Yet if that same bill has a legislator to it or a paid legislator to it, the chances of it passing is 60%. So there's a very large disconnect between direct democracy right now, or democracy for the people, and paid democracy to get what we want. And I think that's what probably a lot of people are turned off by, regardless if you're right, left, independent, anarchist. That democracy should represent the people more than what it is right now. So, and we've got some work to do that. It's not going to occur overnight, yet some large changes need to be made to our political structure in order to get that done. Right now, it's definitely in motion, and I'm hopeful. I think there's people out there that are going to lead that peaceful change. probably won't happen in our generation, but I just want to be the, one of the people that stands up and is counted and says, hey, you know what? When that change occurred, or when that change started to occur, he was one of the people that did it, and he, was along with other people who wanted to make, some of those changes as well. Plus, because I've got some, some information and some, some skills that I can pass on. I just hope that I can help some people, heal some of their conflicts with other people. And that was the other big driving point of the book is, we are, when people say we're divided, relationships are divided. There's a chapter in the book that I write about my father. My father and I did not see eye to eye politically. And I had a tough time reconciling some of the things he stood for, which you'll read in the book, with the man he was. And I talk about one of the things that is a main theme in my conflict resolution classes, which is dialectical thinking. It helps us bridge, reconcile those thoughts we have about different people that might be in our life. Like, for example, my father and I didn't see politically eye to eye, and there were some things politically with him and other personality traits that were just really tough. Yet this was a man who adopted 4 children, including myself. So how do you ultimately judge a person like that? Well, you do it with dialectical thinking, which is basically taking the good parts and looking at them and giving them an equal weighting with the parts that you don't agree on, and have to understand that that's also within us. No one is perfect, and I'm in that same category.
Aren't we all?
I've grown up and made some big mistakes in my life, but it helps us reconcile what we think about that person. I write in my book about a great example. I had a meetup group that I put together that it was basically a group called Republicans and Democrats who want to volunteer. And I thought, you know what? I'm just so tired, like most people, of seeing us divided. Let's get together for a real purpose, which is, helping other people. And I stood arm in arm next to people that were wearing shirts that, of a candidate I didn't believe in, but if we want to work together, great. I can see that person in a different light because I see that person along with me working towards a common good.
That's fabulous. And it's one person at a time joining arms with the next one and the next one that creates that ripple effect that we so need in our world today. And our young people, they're going to be leading our country.
Right.
So let's lead by example now to provide them the solid framework to totally change what's happening in our world
Right.
today.
They've got the tools and they've
They
definitely
do.
got the knowledge. They are
They're smart.
no one would
bunch.
argue that they're more technology savvy than we are, and they know how to, and they want something different. We just have to be on their side and get things done, and keep our egos in check while we support what they want to do.
Absolutely. Wow, what a beautiful interview. And I wish we could just go on and on and on because there's such goodness that's in
Thank you.
this. But really, truly, congratulations
Thank
for
you.
this remarkable book.
Thank you so much.
Really relish in the celebration of it today and for many days to come. But use this book as your springboard. And you will attract the right people to help you bring this message to the world. So I am working with several authors right now that is planning to run independent for president because he does not feel that he's even totally qualified. He has very, very solid thoughts, but he's trying to stir up the conversation and get it going because of because he says, well, I'm maybe not the one to be put in that position, but I do have the call to serve and make a difference. And so it's all of us locking arms and showing our young people we're in the best country in the world, and we need to show that. We need to stand up and show that. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I go back to the saying again that somebody wrote that said, we're in a country where, separation doesn't mean, or different thoughts mean, that we have to think all the same way. What we have to make sure that we understand is we have oneness of purpose, which is, a democracy for all, that we have better representation. and that we're able to make changes in a democracy that needs some changes. Our founding fathers, if you go back, they had, they made a big change themselves where they came from, and they certainly understood that from time to time, we would need to improve democracy. And that's, I think, where we're at in our nation right now. As we saw on January 6, 2021, there's some things going on that need our attention. Democracy is not a passive type of government. So we have to make some good changes, and some changes that include all of us.
Beautiful. We celebrate with you today, and we're all doing our parts to kind of spread the word out, your message out to the world, because this is something that many ears need to hear, and so we congratulate you.
Well, thank you, Becky and Maggie, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much. I wrote the words and you guys did the heavy lifting, so thank you.
Thank you for being the spark.
Thank you.
Yes. Without you, we wouldn't have been able to do all that.
Thank you.
Awesome. Very good. Well, we'll stop our streaming. Take the time and just relish and a big accomplishment today.
Thank you so much.